Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Before we actually start working on module number 4, we have to take a little baby step. So before all the fun begins, we have to learn a little bit about regular and irregular verbs, specifically how to pronounce them and how to use them before we start working in this module. There are three forms of verbs. You have present, past, and past participle. Don't worry about past participle. We're not going to use it uh, in English too. We have to focus on present and past. Here's an example. When you use go in present, you usually say, I go to the movies or I go to the gym. If you say he, you say he goes to the movies or she goes to the gym. But when we say it in past, you would say, I went to the movies or she went to the gym. That's past. We have to modify the verb in past to express ourselves in past. In past, there are two types of verbs. We have regular verbs and we have irregular verbs. When we use a regular verb in past, we have to add, yes, we have to add ed. That makes a regular verb in present. When you add ed, it makes it in past. So you have play and you have played. An irregular verb is a little bit different because you change or modify the verb in present into another verb in past. In the case of take, we say took. But right now, let's focus on regular verbs in past. Why? Rule number one. Well, this is the most important rule. Never pronounce the E when you add ed to a regular verb in past. What does that mean? For example, if you say play and you say it in past, you never pronounce the e. You would say played. Walk, you add ed to make it in past, and you would say walked. And then you have text, you add ed, and you would say texted. So you never pronounce the e. So there are three sounds. Okay, if you check what I said, which was played, walked, and texted, we have three sounds. A soft sound is when you just say a D, when you add ed to a verb. So for example, the verb try, a soft sound would be tried. Call, called. Follow, followed. Open, opened. And then you have a strong sound. Yes, you have to make a very strong sound. For example, when you have watch, it would be watched. Help, helped. Talk, talked. Kiss, kissed. And finally, you have the extra sound, which is id. When you have verbs like need, you would say needed, want, wanted, include, included, and report, reported. So those are the three sounds that you make with regular verbs in past. Now, how can you learn them? How can you identify and learn the pronunciation? Very simple. Let's learn pronouncing ID and T sounds, and whatever is left is a D sound. What does that mean? It's easier to learn ID and T sounds than to learn all the D sounds. So let's look at the list of verbs on the left. We have look. So we have to identify the final sound of the verb in present. So look it's a K. Introduce, it's an S. Finish, it's sh. Paint is a T. Need is a D. Stop is a P. So how do we pronounce these verbs in past correctly? We use ID, which is it, when the verb ends with a T or a D sound. So for example, paint, it ends with a T sound. How do you pronounce it in past? When you add ed, you would pronounce it pain, tid. Then you have need. How do you pronounce need? It's a D sound, so we use id. We would say need, needed. Okay, needed. Why? Because paint and need end with a T or a D sound in present. Now let's go with the T. When you pronounce a T sound, it means that the verb usually ends with a P, a K, a double S, a CE, which is SH, which is sh, CH, which is ch, and an X sound. So for example, if we look at look is a K, which is this one, K. So we're going to pronounce a T when we add ed. So in present, it's look, and in past, it's looked. Introduce in present, in past, it's introduced. Finish, you have the SH sound, you would say finished. So again, we pronounce a T whenever a verb in present ends with a K, P, double S, CE, SH, CH, or X sound. The rest of the verbs that are not in these two categories, they're all soft sounds with D, like played, for example. Now, when we think about irregular verbs, they're different. You don't have to worry about the pronunciation. Either you have a verb that has a big change, for example, go, you modify it to went, bring to brought, think to thought, and leave to left. Or they're irregular verbs that have small or no changes. For example, meet, say met, become, became, get, got, and put stays the same. So you'd say put. Obviously, when you have your list of verbs, you're going to be able to identify which irregular verbs make big changes and which of them make small or no changes. First, in order for us to learn these verbs, irregular and regular verbs in present and past, we have to make a list of the verbs you already know. So you have to identify the verbs that you use, you know, or in the past you have checked and worked with. You have to look in a list, and then you have to separate them by what you identify, and then the verbs that you identify, make them into a regular and an irregular list of verbs. You have to learn around 50 to 100 verbs in a week. This week, you're going to continue learning, but you have to say, hey, this week I have to learn 50 to 100 verbs. If I already know 50 verbs, then I need to learn 50 more. If I have no idea, learn 50. When we use a verb in past in a sentence, we just say the verb in past. For example, Anna and Samantha went to the movies last night and saw the Batman. Leo played FIFA with his friends and lost. And then we have Grace. Grace sent a text message to her classmate and asked what they did in class. All these are verbs in past, and they make reference to situations or things that happened in the past. The past can be yesterday, last night, last week, in January, in 2001. The past is easy to identify with a time, and even more easy to identify when you use a verb in past. So, how can you use a verb in past? Well, think about your daily routine activities, but think of them in the past. For example, yesterday. Okay, yesterday. What did I do yesterday? What did I do in the morning? What did I do in the afternoon? What did I do in the evening? Yesterday in the morning, I woke up early. I had some empanadas for breakfast, and I took my English class. In the afternoon, I did my homework and I went to the gym. In the evening, I watched some TV, played video games, saw my friends, and went to bed. You can also think about what you did over the weekend. So if you think about your daily routine, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you can also think about what you did on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Now, finally, a big thank you. Remember, you first have to learn as many verbs as you can in the past, and then you have to practice using them in sentences. That's the key. Good luck with your activities.